Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. I have my team filling in for Qasim today. And our guest today is Rich. So, Rich, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do for a living.
Yeah. My name's Rich. I work for STAG Partners, and I currently reside in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Awesome. So, do you mind telling us exactly what you do and what STAG Partners is all about?
Yeah, STAG Partners is basically it's a contractor that operates out of the Southeast. We do mostly multifamily renovations for apartment complexes and other larger commercial buildings. We also do preservation. We do for buildings that have to, keep up with all the maintenance, the painting, the mowing, the power washing. We have an entire other department for that. But I primarily do the project management for all of the renovation side. We do everything from just like basic fixes all the way to demoing the entire building and building it back up again. So it's fun. It's a lot of work, but we have a really great team at Stag, and I'm really enjoying it so far.
Awesome. So, how did you get started, working in this industry and being in project management?
Well, between 2011 and 2017, I was Navy. I was stationed in San Diego. And then in 2017, I decided to leave the Navy after my 6-year contract. So after I separated, I went over to Southeast Asia for a while, just kind of did my own thing. And when I came back to the States, I realized, I got to find a job. I got to start working again. A friend of a friend recommended me to be a claims adjuster at Farmers. So I started over there. I learned a lot at Farmers. It wasn't really where I wanted to be. I didn't really like the insurance game. I didn't like that part of it, but the estimating part, the construction part, putting, these people had floods in their houses and fires, and being able to estimate that and put it back together and see the end result was, I really, really liked that. So I started at Farmers, was there for a little while, and then there was an opening at Zillow. Zillow was opening up their homes in San Diego, their whole department where they were purchasing homes. They would estimate, flip the home, have the vendors do it, and then they would put it back on the market. As everybody probably knows, Zillow Homes is no longer around. They canceled that entire department. And then around that time, the pandemic hit. Zillow had laid off pretty much everybody in San Diego, and my now wife, girlfriend at the time, we decided to leave California and move to Charlotte. When I got to Charlotte, I joined with Bungalow Homes. Bungalow Homes is an arm of Amherst. Amherst is a massive company. They have MSR, which is a rental company as well. And then the spiking interest rates really killed that industry for us this last year. I mean, we bought all these houses. We bought, hundreds, thousands of homes across the nation. And then we were flipping them, and we started to sell them off, a lot of them. And then the interest rates peaked and we couldn't sell anything. So I got a layoff there. And then from there, I got picked up by Stag, and I moved in commercial because I don't want my career to be dictated by a pandemic and by interest rates and all these things that could knock me out again. I haven't really had enough time to get my ground and pick up speed in my career. So I keep getting knocked around. So, but now I'm in the commercial game. So hopefully I can stay there.
That's awesome. So, we've actually had other former military folks on our podcast. So, how would you say that's helped you out in your career? 'Cause I feel like there's so much discipline in the military, and now you're in the corporate world. So, I think that gives you a huge edge on people that are just coming out of college, for example.
Yeah, it's the military is great. I would say the biggest thing they give you is just kind of assertiveness. When you're asking for something, when you're, you can address a room of people, you're not scared, you're not reserved, you're not introverted. You speak up, you say, I need this and I need it now, or I need it next week. Tell me yes or no. Can we do this? Can we not do this? Instead of just be like, well, I hope that we can get it done. That's not a military mentality. So that's what I got out of the military is being able to speak up in a room and speak to a bunch of people. It doesn't matter what level they're at either. They could be the CEO or they could be maintenance level or whatever. You just speak to them as you would speak to anybody else. I need this now, and let me know if you can do it.
Makes sense. So
That's what I
obviously you
got.
mentioned, yeah, for sure. Like obviously you mentioned assertiveness, but besides that, like what other qualities would you say somebody really needs to be successful in a role like yours in project management?
Well, that's so the project manager it's a tough role, and it especially matters, how big the project is, how many trades you got going at one time, the budget, the timeline. It's a lot of work. So you have to be very organized, which the military is big on that as well. You have to be able to keep your organizational skills. Communication is massive in a PM role. So being able to communicate with people, which is also huge in the military. A lot of the military applications transfer over to construction in general, whether you're a super or a PM or an engineer. Communication is key. Assertiveness, persistence, all of those traits transfer over. If I could tell anybody who's going into a PM role, a couple of things, it's just to make sure that you're communicating everything to everybody at once instead of just going to one person and say, hey, can you let them know to let them know to let them know? No, get everybody in the same thread and tell everybody what's going on, and just be persistent. And it's you have to control the room or people will control you and the job will get out of hand.
Yeah. So what's the role of technology in your business?
The technology that we use, a lot of the basic stuff I've used, the Outlook and the ADP. But as far as like estimating programs, Xactimate's one that I've used a lot. There was RenoWalk when I was at Zillow. Farmers had by far the most systems. I had to learn like 12 different systems. All the part was how you generated all the documents to send to people. I mean, I can go on and on, but obviously all the basic ones, you got Excel, Microsoft Teams. I used Slack. Between like the big four companies that I've been at since I've been in this industry, I've probably gone through 25 to 30 programs. So I have dipped into a little bit of everything, but Outlook is always the big one. Excel is the other one. And yeah, there's plenty others. There's a lot, so you have to learn.
So are you using any project management tools like Trello, for example?
I've used Trello at Bungalow. That was more on the sales side, so I only saw a little bit of it. I didn't use that on a daily basis. But yeah, what were the other ones that we would use? I used Yardi for payments. There were financial apps. Use a lot of apps on your phone as far as like punch lists. We do Mile IQ for our mileage in our cars. I got the Amex. You got to run through your Amex to make sure that all your payments are in line. It's nonstop. It's constant. And every couple of months, they'll bring out something new. We're getting away from this. We're going to bring this one in. Let's give it a try. It's a constant thing. You never use everything, any app or system for forever, other than like Outlook and Teams. Everything else is just kind of in and out.
For sure. So as of right now, are you all using any artificial intelligence? And if not, do you see any use cases for it within your business?
Not currently. But there has been talk. We actually did talk about at STAG some AI possibilities, and it was a system that you would use that was kind of like a reminder system. It was where you could train the computer. I guess train the computer is probably not the right way of saying it, but you would get AI to follow up with people for you, to remind you to make calls to people. It's kind of like a calendar, but it's a calendar on crack, if you will. It's a really, really great system. And I thought personally that AI would be really, really great to use for designing the inside of a building, or even the outside, or even just structurally. You give the computer the dimensions and what the use is for, whether it's going to be like a game room or just an apartment, and they could design the walls where the windows are, the doors, they'll just pop up. Like the use would be for this, and as long as the bedroom has a window, here's where it would go. It needs a door, here's where it's going to go. I would use AI for something like that, like an interior design type of program.
So do you think if you had that tool, would it make your life easier as a PM?
Yes. Yeah. And it's not just as a PM, because most of the time as a PM, You're just taking the plans from somebody else and you're making it reality. So I typically wouldn't be using AI, but a design team who does this on a daily basis to use CAD files, the AI would help them design it, and it would make their lives easier. And hopefully, it wouldn't make my life too complicated based on those plans. So not necessarily my life being easier.
What about a tool, with AI that can make your life easier? Have you thought about that?
Probably the first one I talked about with the reminder system and the follow-up calls and organizing my emails for me, organizing my voicemails for me, kind of almost like an assistant, if you will, just kind of like a virtual assistant that would take care of all of these things for me because I have to be in the field. I have to walk with people. I got to show people where things have to be installed. I got to show them paint colors. I have to be in the field constantly. Even the drive, 20 minutes there and 20 minutes back, that round trip, I could be on the computer, going through my emails and sending stuff and scheduling stuff. And if I had a system to do that for me, that would be fantastic.
So how much of your job is spent out in the field versus spending in front of a computer?
For me personally, probably 60-40. You have to run projects on site. You can't be a PM and run projects that are in another state or just not be there. You'll get contractors who and the bad word to use as a PM in the construction industry is assume. Never ever use that word. So you would assume that these guys know how to read plans, that they know how to paint, that they know how to pour concrete, that they know how to do these things. You never assume that. You have to get eyes on it, and you have to show them how to do it, and you have to make sure it's done correctly. And that's the field work, and that's like 60% of the time. The other 40 is just all the admin stuff, and that's what I want AI for. But yeah, the 40%, you do have to make follow-up calls. You have to email people. You have to schedule meetings. So yeah.
You have to physically show a lot of the contractors how to do their job.
It's most of the time, it's not so much showing them how to do something. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you literally have to show them how to do it. But a lot of times it's just they don't want to read the plans. They don't want to see the details. They don't want to read the blueprints. They don't want to do that. They just want you to point and say, what walls am I what am I painting? Am I painting that wall? What color are we painting it? They want me to be there to just dumb it down for them. They don't want to read the plans because if they read the plans, they would know. They need me to point it out for them. Where is that light being installed? Is it where in this room? Is it right there? Yeah, right there. I'm going to mark it with tape and I'm going to write light on it right there. Just getting them to do it. It's like almost like children. And I'm not calling contractors and subs children. I'm just saying they just want to simplify it. They want to simplify it. Yeah.
Do you think it's more just like needing that extra clarity? Because I would assume, and I've worked with contractors, I think that like sometimes they're afraid to do like the wrong thing, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually had just had a conversation with one about an hour ago. They said, yeah, I can continue what I'm doing and I can knock out this drywall and run that wire, but I don't want it to come back at me. So I have to do this walk with his boss on Monday, to verify, yes, we have to cut out the drywall. I'm giving you permission to do that so that it's CYA. It's covering your ass for, I don't know if I could say that, but yeah. Okay. That's the big thing in construction is CYA. So yeah, it's just liability. Yeah.
In terms of liability, do you spend a lot of time working with local governments, pulling permits and all those sorts of things as well?
Yeah. In Mecklenburg County in Charlotte, it's a pretty strict permit system. Depending on the job that you're doing, depending on the inspector that you actually get to come out to the job site. I've had guys who are really relaxed. They they say, oh, this, it looks good, whatever. And I have guys that really dig in there and they fail you 6 or 7 times, or you just piss them off somehow. But yeah, you definitely have to work with Mecklenburg County around here. They're real strict. If you're putting something up, if you're putting up a load bearing wall and you don't have a permit for it and they catch you, there's huge hefty fines for that. All of the MEPs, electrical, you have to follow the rules. They'll drive by down the street And if they see a dumpster, a big, dumpster in the driveway, and they see that looks like it's being demoed, they'll pull it online. And if you haven't pulled a permit for that, they'll fine you. Just driving down the road, they'll fine you for it.
So do they come and do random checks just in general throughout the projects?
They can. They can. I think they're pretty busy right now. I wouldn't say that like they're just running around doing random checks on a regular basis. Most of the time when I run into these guys, they're very, very scheduled because they're so busy. So they come onto your site and they're just going through really quickly because they got to get to the next one and they got to get to the next one. So I don't think they're actively doing random stop bys.
For sure. So what do you think, or I guess like what are the biggest trends you're seeing right now in the commercial real estate space?
As far as like sales
Or just in general, I mean, just what type of, because I think it's like one of the things that I guess just be more specific, I guess for me, I think COVID changed a lot of things in terms of like office space, for example. So what types of, projects are you working on? Are you still building lots of offices? Or is it more of retail? I think it's like, because, we work, for example, often with e-commerce, right? So it's like, we see this trend of, you know, structures being shifted more towards warehousing to store products for e-commerce brands. So are you seeing more of that? I guess like what types of projects are you mostly working on?
Well, I mean, being in the commercial side now, I mean, I was just recently in the residential side, and I can only speak to Charlotte. If you go out downtown Charlotte and you look at the skyline, you're going to see cranes everywhere. All of the apartment complexes, all of the commercial stuff is going up right now. I'm not an expert, but from what I've seen in the couple of years that I've been here, is that the pandemic brought everybody inside to all the inner cities, Austin, Charlotte, just everywhere that's not the coast. Basically, everybody came in, right? So everybody's moving to Charlotte. Everybody was buying up property. It was all residential. They were just blowing up like crazy. $300,000 houses were being knocked down, $1 million houses being built in its place. And then the interest rates skyrocketed. And when that happened, all of these apartment complexes started going up because people don't want to buy property right now. They don't want to spend 9% on a $1 million house. So they're renting. So when you look out the window here in Charlotte, you're seeing nothing but apartment complexes popping up. I guarantee, no kidding, there's 30 of them being built right now just in a 5-mile radius. It's crazy. So with the interior renovations that I'm doing at STAG, a lot of these older apartment complexes that have been there for a while, they need to up their game. So they're getting us into the game rooms, the fitness centers, the main lobbies, and they're putting $500,000, $1 million, $2 million into them to keep up with all of this new stuff that's going on. It's just like a supply and demand going on here in Charlotte. So like as far as real estate, some people are buying houses, but the apartment game is skyrocketing right now.
So in terms of renovations, are they doing it like how do they, so for example, if they have current tenants living in it, how are they able to renovate the inside of some of these units?
It's kind of a pain, to be honest. You have to notify the residents when anything's going down. It could be anything, just from painting to cleaning the floors. You have to notify them, and that is another difficult part of being a PM in the commercial side, where we have to lay some tile in the lobby. So how are they going to be able to get to their mailboxes? Are they going to be able to exit the room? You really have to keep everybody notified. It's very difficult to do that, and you have to play that game, and you have to keep the owners informed, because as soon as you cut power and a bunch of people in the apartment complex don't have power anymore, and you didn't notify them, you can get in a lot of trouble for that.
So what are the top priorities for next 3 to 6 months?
One more time, 3 to 6 months for what?
What are your top priorities for the next 3 to 6 months?
Well, I have a couple of projects running right now. My priorities I'm running this really big one in South End, which is in West Charlotte. My biggest priority is to finish that one in the next 6 weeks. We got tile going in, we got lights going in. I got painters, I got wallpaper guys, I got plumbers. Everybody's finally passed all of our inspections. So I'm just getting all those trades in there, scheduling wise, and just knocking that out so that I get that big one off my plate. And then we are trying to also get some business in Raleigh. So I will be going back and forth from Charlotte to Raleigh over the next yeah, like 3 to 6 months. I'm going to be doing a lot more running around in the truck. So like I said, it's going to be harder for me to get to my emails and stuff, but that's just a scheduling issue I'm gonna have to play with.
How far is Charlotte from Raleigh?
Uh, I have to look at a map. I'm gonna speculate and say it's an hour and a half to 2 hours, roughly, one way.
So you're gonna have to go back and forth pretty constantly.
Pretty constantly. If I have to stay up there, if it's a large project in Raleigh, which they will be, I could stay up there for a couple of days. I'd just have to stay in a hotel locally. So, and then I wouldn't have to, spend all that time in the car, and I can get some stuff done. So,
So what would you say is the one biggest piece of advice you wish you knew before you started your career?
oh man, patience, probably. Just you have to have a lot of patience, because in the beginning of the day, everything will be perfect. Everybody shows up on time. Everybody's at work. Everybody's doing their thing, and then one thing will go wrong, which dominoes into another thing and another thing. It's You have to have patience with these subs, with these contractors that you work with, because everybody's got their own set of problems. This guy's sick. This guy's truck broke down. This guy's on vacation. You really have to be able to keep it together when you're running a project, especially a large one.
Makes sense. So if we're gonna have this conversation again in 1 year from now, where do you expect things to go for you and for the business?
You will probably catch me. What I want to happen is you'll probably catch me in another city. My employer, STAG, is branching out fast. We're located in Atlanta, Charleston, Charlotte, and another city that I can't think of right now, but it's in the southeast. So if you talk to me again in a year, I would hope to probably be established in Raleigh, possibly in Columbia, South Carolina, and all of the neighboring cities. Just so we're completely branching out, and maybe I'll have a couple of other PMs under my wing, maybe a couple of CMs, construction managers, under my wing that I have trained and to help me run this side of things.
Awesome. So if somebody watched this interview, wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for somebody to get in contact with you?
You can hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm on there every once in a while. You could, if you go to the STAG website, STAG Construction in Atlanta, you can find me on there. You can find contacts. So we're always looking for new people. Like I said, our business is expanding fast, especially with the interest rates staying as high as they are. People like apartments right now. We're renovating apartments. We're going into hotels, any of these large commercial buildings. So we're constantly looking for people, good people, patient people, communicative people, and persistent people. So
Sounds great. Well, Rich, thank you so much for your time. We're rooting for you. Hopefully, you guys keep expanding your business, and we can talk again soon or in 1 year.
I really appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have
Thank
a
you,
good one.
Rich.
Thanks.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.